This is just a quick follow-up to the sound card for my 286 system. Based on feedback on my YouTube channel from the last video where I showed this specific schematic and PCB, I did make a couple of changes. And what I did is I added a 4-bit register to the sound card. So on the sound card itself, there is now a 4-bit register and the appropriate logic to make sure that I am writing to that I/O register. Basically, I'm accessing it through an I/O address. The second thing I did is I made the I/O address for that register plus the memory range for the sound card's dual port RAM. I've made all of that configurable. So I have some jumpers now that allow me to change that around. And you'll see that here. This is where I have those set of jumpers. And to make all of this work as far as this additional 4-bit register, I had to add a series of additional ICs here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional ICs to make this work. If I go to this visual real quick, here is the memory map I've showed before. My sound card I still want somewhere within the B range, so B0000 up to the top of the B range. And then I've added an I/O address so that I can get to that 4-bit register. Well, the way I've set up the memory mapping is that I can actually choose now from any of these 16 different addresses. So from B0000, which is what I'm probably going to use, all the way up to BF000. And as far as the I/O address, I'm going to use 00B0 for the I/O address for that register, but I can choose any of these addresses here. Some of those are already used in my system, but this is what I can choose from at this point. And so this is just a zoom in of that schematic as it sits. And you'll see that I've added these additional logic ICs just to make sure I understand when this I/O port is active, either to write to it or read back out of it. And then along with that, I have the pin headers that are either going to let me provide a high or a low address signal into my logic to see if I should activate reading or writing of this register. And then the same thing over here for the memory mapped. I've added these select signals that are either going to pull a high or a low of address 15 down to 12. So 15 down to 12 here and 7 down to 4 over here for the I/O. But that should give me those 4 jumpers that let me select the addresses that you see here on this slide. So if I go over to my Easy EDA real quick, really this is what I have for the latest updates, and I'll post this out to my blog real quick just so that that blog post does have the latest version of this there. But if I go maybe over to the 3D version of this, just to show you that real quickly. So here is the 3D version. And you can see there's, well, I've really rearranged this from the last card. I did end up flipping all my PSGs around just so all of the analog out type of signals are on the far right of these ICs when they're upside down like this. So I wanted to keep that all to as far right as possible. I've got nice copper fill that really should have a nice ground. And if I flip that over, you're going to see I also have, well, this is ground on this side, and the top side is VCC. So that all is looking good. And I shouldn't have a lot of concern about noise or anything over here. And I did move my vias all the way to the left side, and then I inserted all these additional ICs for that I/O register. And then here are going to be the 4 pin headers for the memory address and the 4 pin headers for the I/O address selection. And I can then change those around. So I think this will be probably more realistically an ISA compliant type of card that has some configuration to it. So thought I would share that, and I'll probably sleep on this one more night and then try to get these ordered up here sometime soon. Maybe one comment I do have, it maybe looks like there's traces up here that are close to the top edge. There's actually quite a bit of space there, so I'm not worried about those. And if I go to the 2D version just for a second, maybe I can go up, but you can see there's adequate room, I think, here, that I'm not worried about that signal being on the edge. So I think I've got plenty of cushion there. And I did block off down here and on the far right to make sure nothing got close to the edge. But I think I'm good with this the way it sits, and I'll see if I'm missing anything else on the schematic side of it, but I'll try to get this ordered up here pretty soon.